Feeling distant from almost everyone often happens without a clear event or dramatic explanation. Nothing obvious changed, yet connection no longer feels natural or effortless anymore. You still talk, respond, and function socially, but emotional closeness feels harder to access. People may say you changed, became quieter, or less available than before. They assume distance means withdrawal, avoidance, or emotional shutdown. But distance does not always come from fear or disinterest in people. Sometimes it forms when awareness increases and tolerance for misalignment decreases. You begin sensing which interactions cost energy instead of restoring it. You notice when connection requires performance rather than presence. You feel the difference between being included and being understood. This shift does not happen suddenly or intentionally. It develops slowly through repeated emotional experiences and pattern recognition. You are not pulling away because you dislike people. You are pulling away because your system no longer accepts shallow connection. Distance becomes a natural filter, not a defensive reaction. What looks like detachment from outside feels like clarity inside. You stop forcing closeness where safety or meaning never existed. This distance is not random. It is selectivity emerging from awareness, not rejection. And once you see that, distance stops feeling like something to fix. 1. Distance forms from awareness, not rejection. Distance does not appear because you suddenly stopped caring about people or connection. It forms when your awareness sharpens and stops overlooking emotional inconsistency. You begin noticing who listens and who only waits for their turn to speak. You sense when effort flows one way and never truly returns. Your tolerance for imbalance decreases as self-respect quietly increases. You no longer confuse familiarity with genuine emotional safety. You stop excusing behavior that consistently leaves you drained or unseen. This awareness is not judgmental or arrogant. It is observational, neutral, and based on lived experience. You are not rejecting people for who they are. You are rejecting dynamics that require you to shrink or overextend. Distance becomes a byproduct of clarity, not a punishment or emotional wall. You no longer chase closeness that costs peace and inner stability. You stop negotiating your boundaries just to maintain surface harmony. What looks like coldness is often discernment settling into place. You are not closing your heart, you are closing access to patterns that no longer align with your nervous system. Distance is how awareness protects itself before resentment has time to grow. It prevents exhaustion from hardening into bitterness or emotional numbness. This is not rejection. It is alignment asserting itself quietly. 2. Selectivity is a nervous system response. Selectivity is not a personality choice you consciously decided to adopt one day. It develops as your nervous system learns which environments feel safe or costly. Over time, your body remembers emotional patterns faster than your mind explains them. It senses tension, imbalance, or performative connection before words even register. Your system pulls back automatically to prevent overstimulation or emotional depletion. This response is not fear. It is pattern recognition built through repeated exposure. You feel distant because your nervous system no longer tolerates unnecessary strain. It chooses calm over chaos without asking for permission or justification. Others may still enjoy constant interaction without feeling overwhelmed. Your system does not filter stimulation the same way theirs does. It processes deeper, absorbs more, and therefore reaches capacity sooner. Selectivity becomes the adjustment that keeps your system regulated and functional. Without it, exhaustion accumulates and emotional clarity fades quickly. With it, your energy stabilizes and your inner state remains coherent. You are not becoming less open or emotionally unavailable. You are becoming more precise about where your energy goes. This precision protects your capacity for genuine connection later. It ensures closeness feels grounding instead of draining. Selectivity is not avoidance disguised as wisdom. It is regulation shaped by experience. And regulation is how sensitive systems remain healthy over time. 3. You stop chasing connection that costs peace. At some point, connection stopped feeling nourishing and started feeling like obligation. You noticed how often closeness required effort without emotional return. You showed up, adjusted, listened, and made space more than others did. Over time, that imbalance stopped feeling generous and started feeling draining. You realized peace disappeared whenever you forced yourself to stay available. So you stopped chasing people who only felt close when it was convenient. You stopped explaining your absence to those who never explained their inconsistency. This shift was not dramatic or announced. It happened quietly as self-respect replaced habit. You no longer confuse effort with intimacy or availability with connection. You learned that access to you has an emotional cost, and not everyone is willing or able to meet that cost responsibly. Chasing connection that disrupts peace teaches your system to stay dysregulated. Letting go teaches it that safety matters more than familiarity. You did not stop caring about people. You stopped prioritizing connection that required self-abandonment. Peace became the baseline you refused to negotiate anymore. Distance emerged naturally once that decision settled internally. This is not withdrawal driven by bitterness or fear. It is discernment shaped by experience. And discernment always looks distant to those who benefited from your availability. 4. Fewer connections do not mean less capacity. Having fewer people around does not mean your capacity for connection has diminished. It means your standards for emotional alignment have become clearer and non-negotiable. You did not lose the ability to care, attach, or invest deeply in others. You simply stopped distributing that capacity where it could not be sustained. Your energy is no longer scattered across inconsistent or one-sided dynamics. It is preserved for spaces where mutual presence and understanding exist. This shift often feels lonely before it feels peaceful. Reduction comes before refinement in most internal reorganizations. You are not shrinking your world out of fear. You are concentrating it around what feels emotionally coherent. Fewer connections allow depth to replace constant surface interaction. They create room for honesty instead of continuous performance. Your nervous system relaxes when connection feels reciprocal and predictable. Without that safety, even large circles feel isolating and exhausting. Capacity is not measured by how many people you tolerate. It is measured by how present you can remain without losing yourself. Selective connection protects that presence over time. It allows closeness to feel grounding instead of destabilizing. What others call isolation is often emotional conservation, and conservation ensures your capacity remains intact, not depleted. You have not lost connection. You have refined it. 5. Distance is integration, not disconnection. Distance does not mean you stopped valuing connection or human presence entirely. It means you are integrating what experience taught your nervous system over time. You learned which dynamics drained you and which ones supported internal stability. You stopped forcing closeness where safety, meaning, or consistency never existed. Distance became the space where your system could finally recalibrate. In that space, clarity replaced confusion, and calm replaced constant emotional vigilance. You are not disconnected from life or people. You are connected differently, with intention rather than habit. This integration allows you to recognize alignment without chasing validation. You no longer confuse proximity with intimacy or availability with belonging. Distance helps you hear your internal signals without interference or noise. It allows you to notice when connection feels right instead of merely familiar. From this place, selectivity is not rigid or defensive. It is flexible, grounded, and responsive to genuine presence. You are not closing yourself off from future connection. You are creating conditions where connection can be safe and sustainable. Distance protects your capacity until the right alignment appears naturally. It keeps you from returning to patterns that cost peace. You are not distant because something is wrong. You are distant because something finally makes sense. And when connection returns, it will meet you where you truly are. Not scattered, not drained, but clear.